This morning's reading is from Luke chapter 2, verses 22 to 38. When the time came for the purification rites required by the law of Moses, Joseph and Mary took him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. As it is written in the law of the Lord, every firstborn male is to be consecrated to the Lord, and to offer a sacrifice in keeping with what is said in the law of the Lord, a pair of doves or 2 young pigeons. Now there was a man in Jerusalem called Simeon, who was righteous and devout. He was waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was on him. It had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he would not die before he had seen the Lord's Messiah. Moved by the Spirit, he went into the temple courts. When the parents brought in the child Jesus to do for him what the custom of the law required, Simeon took him in his arms and praised God, saying, "Sovereign Lord, as you have promised, you may now dismiss your servant in peace, for my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the sight of all nations, a light for revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of your people Israel." The child's father and mother marveled at what was said about him. Then Simeon blessed them and said to Mary, his mother, "This child is destined to cause the falling and rising of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be spoken against, so that the thoughts of many hearts will be revealed, and a sword will pierce your own heart too." There was also a prophet, Anna, the daughter of Penuel of the tribe of Asher. She was very old. She had lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage, and then was a widow until she was 84. She never left the temple, but worshipped night and day, fasting and praying. Coming up to them at that very moment, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem.
I know that the calendar has moved us past Advent and Christmas, and even the celebration of a new year. But it's just too sweet a time to let slip away quietly. Let us take one last look at the Nativity story before we pack it away for another year with all the Christmas decorations. In the New Testament Gospels, the story of Jesus is only beginning. A lot will be happening soon and fast. Before then, one more look over our shoulders. As you probably know by now, the birth story of Jesus is found only in 2 of the 4 Gospels, in Matthew and in Luke, and each one tells the story just a little differently. Matthew has Joseph's dreams, the star, and the visit of the wise men. Luke has the angel's visit to Mary, the innkeeper, and the angel's good tidings to the shepherds. But also in Luke, in that version, are included 4 characters, and that is what I want us to focus on this morning. Luke's story begins not with Mary and Joseph, but with Zechariah and Elizabeth, a childless, elderly couple who by a miracle will give birth to a son. And his name will be called John, and we will know him as John the Baptist. We begin the story in Luke's telling in the Jerusalem temple, where Zechariah was a Jewish priest. Now Luke's story ends with another couple. We've just heard of them, Simeon and Anna. And where are they? They're in the same place as we began, in the Jerusalem temple. In Luke, as with all the Gospels, every word and every story is important to telling us who this Jesus truly is. Zechariah and Elizabeth were faithful Jews, yet they were disappointed in their lives. They desired a child, and now they were too old. Simeon and Anna also are faithful Jews. They too had a desire. They wanted to see a sign that God still loved Israel. Despite the Roman occupation and the cruelty they lived under for centuries, they still believed that God would come in the form of a Messiah and restore Israel, and God's love be fulfilled. But for Anna and Simeon, time is running out. They wanted to see a sign, but their days grew shorter. Before we move on, though, as I said, every word and story in Luke and all the Gospels tells us something. Let's look what Luke is showing us. Zechariah and Elizabeth, Simeon and Anna, indeed Joseph and Mary too, are faithful Jews. We are in the temple as the story begins and as it ends, to tell us that Jesus is rooted in Judaism, born from Judaism, and faithful to the Jewish law and prophets. Simeon and Anna wanted consolation. The promises God made to their ancestors for protection and prosperity, well, by their time seemed ridiculous and obviously false IOUs. And yet they still believed God would come to them, that God was near. They wanted a sign that someday, even if not in their lifetimes, someday the promises of God and the vision of God of a peaceful creation, these promises would be fulfilled. God answered all of their desires. Zechariah and Elizabeth had a son, and Simeon and Anna, and especially Simeon, got to hold the child that would be God's Messiah. They got their sign. When you deeply desire something and pour yourself into that wish, of course, there is no guarantee it will happen. We say in the church that God answers prayers, but we also say not always in ways we understand or expected. Yet I ask, is it not better to desire and dream than to give up dreaming and desiring? This is the lesson we learn from Zechariah and Elizabeth, Simeon and Anna. Do not give up. Do not become cynical. Do not go into some darkness, but instead keep looking for signs, for sparks of God's light. So here is the question I put to us today. As the new year begins, what do you want to see in this year? What do you want to be? What do you want to become? What is it you hope and desire? What is that desire right now? And what will make your heart sing? And what will surprise you with joy? How will your faith in God's goodness strengthen you while you wait and wonder? How will you lean on God's love until you see a sign or hear an answer? Simeon and Anna could have given up and simply stayed home. Instead, they went to the temple to wait and wonder. And there, on that surprising day, they saw the child of hope. Faith is not simple or easy. It is hard work to keep on believing day after day when it doesn't seem worth it. And yet, it is the best way that I know how to be in the right place at the right time to see miracles and wonders. May we see miracles and wonders as we fill up the pages of our new calendar this year.